You do not break a dam with a bomb. This was not theory. This was engineering fact, proven by physics and reinforced by 2 years of failed Allied attempts. Dams are massive structures, concrete monoliths anchored into bedrock, designed to withstand the crushing weight of millions of tons of water. Drop a 1,000-pound bomb on one? It bounces off. Detonated on the surface? The water absorbs the blast. Even a direct hit does nothing but scar the concrete. The Germans knew this. By 1943 they had fortified the Ruhr Valley, the industrial heart of the Third Reich, behind a network of dams. The Möhne Dam, the Eder Dam, the Sorp. These structures held back 330 million cubic meters of water, feeding the factories that built Hitler's tanks, submarines, and aircraft. The Nazis surrounded them with anti-aircraft guns and torpedo nets, but honestly, they barely needed to. The dams were considered untouchable, indestructible. Allied High Command had studied them obsessively. Every scenario ended the same way: impossible. You couldn't get close enough. You couldn't deliver enough explosive force. You couldn't breach the thick concrete walls. The math didn't work. The physics didn't work. The dams were safe. There was one truth everyone in the Third Reich believed in May of 1943. Those dams would stand forever. But on the night of May 16th, one squadron shattered that truth in a way that would make Germany's high command question everything they thought they knew about air power, physics, and the reach of British ingenuity. Wing Commander Guy Gibson is 24 years old. Let that sink in. 24. He has already flown 174 combat missions. More than almost any pilot in RAF Bomber Command. He has survived tours over Germany that killed most of his friends. He has been awarded the Distinguished Service Order and Bar, the Distinguished Flying Cross and Bar. He should be dead a dozen times over. Instead, in March 1943, he is summoned to the office of Air Chief Marshal Arthur Harris and given the strangest order of his career. Form a new squadron. Handpick the crews. Train them for a mission we can't tell you about yet. You have 2 months. The mission has a code name, Operation Chastise. The target, 3 dams in the Ruhr Valley. The weapon, something that doesn't exist yet. Gibson doesn't know any of this when he selects his men. He only knows he needs the best pilots, navigators, bomb aimers, and gunners in the RAF. He chooses Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders, Brits, 173 men in total, formed into 617 squadron. They call themselves the Dambusters, though they don't know why yet. While Gibson trains his crews in low-level night flying, dangerously low, 60 feet above water, an engineer named Barnes Wallis is solving an impossible problem in a laboratory. Wallis has calculated that to breach a dam, you need to detonate a massive charge directly against the dam wall, underwater, where the pressure will crack the concrete. But you can't drop a bomb into water. It will either skip off the surface or sink too far away from the wall. Unless, what if the bomb bounced? Wallis designs a cylinder, 9,250 pounds, packed with Torpex explosive. Before release, the aircraft spins it backward at 500 revolutions per minute using a hydraulic motor. When dropped at exactly 60 feet, at exactly 240 miles per hour, at exactly 425 yards from the dam, the bomb skips across the water like a stone thrown by a child. It leaps over the torpedo nets. It strikes the dam wall. It sinks. It detonates 30 feet down. In theory, no one has done this in combat. No one has flown a 4-engine bomber at 60 feet over enemy territory at night. No one has spun a bomb backward and skipped it across water while being shot at by flak guns. The margin for error is 0. Too high. The bomb shatters on impact. Too low? The aircraft hits the water. Too fast or too slow? The bomb misses. 1 degree off course? Failure. Gibson's crews practice over British reservoirs for 8 weeks. They use 2 spotlights angled beneath the aircraft. When the beams converge on the water, they know they're at exactly 60 feet. They practice until they can hold that altitude in total darkness, at 240 miles per hour, with their eyes closed. On May 15, 1943, they are briefed. The target is revealed. Photographs of the Möhne Dam are pinned to the wall. Gibson looks at the anti-aircraft guns positioned on the towers. He looks at the torpedo nets. He looks at the distance they'll have to fly at treetop level through the most heavily defended airspace in Europe. He asks no questions. His job is simple. Lead 19 Lancaster bombers into the Ruhr Valley, breach 3 dams, and come home. At 21:39 on May 16, the first Lancaster lifts off from RAF Scampton. Gibson's Lancaster, call sign G. George, crosses the Dutch coast at 100 feet. The moon is full. This is deliberate. They need to see the dams, but it also means the Germans can see them. Flak batteries open fire as the formation screams over occupied Holland. Tracer rounds arc up from the darkness. Gibson weaves between them. This is not evasive flying. This is navigation. At this altitude, one mistake means death. His flight engineer calls out obstacles. Windmill, 11 o'clock. Power lines ahead. They are so low that Gibson's rear gunner sees Dutch civilians in their kitchens looking up in shock as 30 tons of bomber roar past their windows. They lose 2 aircraft before they even reach Germany. One hits power lines. Another is shot down by flak. 17 bombers remain. At 0:15, Gibson sees it. The Möhne Dam, a curved wall of concrete 131 feet high, holding back 140 million cubic meters of water. Moonlight reflects off the reservoir. The dam is lit up by searchlights. On the 2 towers flanking the sluice gates, anti-aircraft guns are already tracking his approach. Gibson radios his formation. "Hello, all cooler aircraft. I'm going into attack. Stand by to come in to attack in your order when I tell you." He drops to 60 feet. His flight engineer, Sergeant Pulford, calls the speed, 240 indicated. His bomb aimer, Spam Spafford, lies in the nose, staring through the bomb sight at the dam. They have rehearsed this 50 times over English reservoirs. Now the flak guns are firing. Tracers stream past the cockpit. Gibson does not deviate. He holds the altitude. He holds the speed. He holds the course. The spotlights beneath the Lancaster converge on the water, exactly 60 feet. Spafford's thumb hovers over the release button. He is aiming for a point 425 yards from the dam wall. At 240 miles per hour, they are covering 352 feet per second. The margin for error is less than 1 second. Bomb gone. The hydraulic motor has been spinning the cylinder backward at 500 revolutions per minute for the last minute. The bomb drops. It strikes the water. It bounces. Once, twice, 3 times. It skips over the torpedo nets like a pebble on a pond. It strikes the dam wall. It sinks. Gibson pulls up hard, banking away from the towers as the flak guns pour fire into the space he just occupied. He is 400 yards away when the bomb detonates 30 feet underwater, directly against the concrete. The explosion sends a column of water 1,000 feet into the air. The shockwave rocks Gibson's Lancaster even at this distance. He circles back, staring at the dam through the moonlight. The concrete is scorched, but it's still standing. Gibson radios, Goner 68C. Code 4, weapon released, dam intact. He calls in the next aircraft, "Hello, M Mother. You may attack now." Flight Lieutenant John Hopgood begins his run in M Mother. The German gunners are fully alert now. Flak concentrates on Hopgood's aircraft as it levels off at 60 feet. Tracers punch through the fuselage. The port wing catches fire. Hopgood holds the run. His bomb aimer releases. The bomb bounces, but the aircraft is already doomed. The fire spreads. Hopgood pulls up, trying to gain altitude for his crew to bail out. At 500 feet, the Lancaster explodes. Only 2 parachutes emerge before the fireball disintegrates into the darkness. The bomb detonates against the dam wall, sending up another massive plume. But the dam still stands. Goner 58C, Gibson radios. Code 4, aircraft lost, dam intact. He calls in Flight Lieutenant Mick Martin in Peepopsy. Martin begins his run. Gibson does something unprecedented. He flies alongside Martin, drawing fire from the German gunners, making himself a target to give Martin a clearer approach. The flak gunners split their fire. Tracers crisscross the valley. Martin's bomb aimer releases. The bomb skips. It strikes the wall. It sinks. It detonates. Another massive explosion. Another column of water reaching toward the moon. Gibson circles. The dam is still standing. Goner 58C. 3 bombs expended. 0 breaches. The crews are starting to wonder if this is possible. Gibson calls in squadron leader Melvin Young in A Apple. Young's run is textbook. 60 feet, 240 miles per hour, bomb released at exactly 425 yards. The weapon skips perfectly, strikes the wall, detonates. The explosion is enormous. Water surges up the face of the dam. Gibson holds his breath. Nothing. The dam stands. Goner 58C. 4 bombs. No breach. They are running out of aircraft. Gibson orders Flight Lieutenant Dave Maltby to attack in J. Johnny. Maltby lines up. His bomb aimer, Vivian Nicholson, watches through the sight as the dam wall fills his vision. He releases. The bomb skips. It strikes. It sinks. The explosion erupts at 0:49. And this time something is different. The wall of the dam cracks. A thin line appears in the concrete, barely visible in the moonlight. Then the crack widens. Water begins to pour through, not a trickle but a torrent. The pressure behind 140 million cubic meters of water is unimaginable. The crack becomes a gap. The gap becomes a rupture. Within seconds, a section of the dam wall 250 feet wide collapses. Gibson watches in disbelief as a wall of water 30 feet high explodes through the breach and roars down the Ruhr Valley. He radios back to base, his voice calm, almost casual. Goner 79B. Code 4, Möhne Dam destroyed. If you find this kind of forgotten history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of ingenuity and sacrifice deserve to be told. And by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. Gibson doesn't celebrate. He has 2 more dams to hit. He orders 5 aircraft to proceed to the Eder Dam 50 miles southeast. He leads them there himself, leaving the remaining bombers to attack the Sorp Dam. The Eder Dam is harder. It sits in a narrow valley surrounded by mountains. There is no straight approach. Pilots must dive over a forested ridge, drop to 60 feet while spiraling down into the valley, level off and then attack, all while maintaining exactly 240 miles per hour. Miss the approach and you fly straight into a mountain. Squadron leader Henry Maudslay makes the first run in Z-Zebra. He misjudges the altitude. His bomb releases late, strikes the dam parapet and detonates prematurely. The explosion engulfs his Lancaster. The aircraft staggers away, trailing fire, and crashes minutes later. All 7 crew members die. Gibson calls in Flight Lieutenant Les Knight in N-Nuts. Knight is an Australian, 22 years old, flying his first mission with 617 Squadron. He dives over the ridge, spirals down into the valley, and levels off at 60 feet with textbook precision. His bomb aimer releases. The weapon skips across the reservoir, strikes the Eder Dam wall and sinks. The detonation at 1:52 sends a shockwave through the valley. But the dam holds. Gibson orders squadron leader Dave Shannon to attack in L Leather. Shannon makes the run. His bomb strikes the wall. It detonates. The dam shudders but does not break. 1 bomb left. Gibson orders Knight to make a second pass. No, wait. Knight has already dropped his weapon. Gibson calls in Pilot Officer Les Monroe. No, Monroe's aircraft was damaged and turned back over the North Sea. They are out of aircraft. Out of bombs. Then Gibson realizes, one of the reserve bombers, flown by Pilot Officer Bill Townsend in orange, is still carrying its weapon. Townsend was supposed to attack the Sorp, but the Eder is a higher priority. Gibson orders him in. Townsend dives into the valley. He levels off. His bomb skips across the moonlit water. It strikes the dam. It sinks. It detonates. The center of the Eder Dam collapses. A 250-foot section crumbles into the reservoir. Another wall of water, 132 million cubic meters, thunders down the valley, sweeping away bridges, roads, and villages. 2 dams breached. In one night, Gibson turns his battered formation toward home. They fly back across Germany at treetop level, exhausted, fuel running low, engines damaged. 8 Lancasters do not return. 53 men are dead. 3 are captured. But as Gibson crosses the English coast at dawn, the Ruhr Valley is underwater. The flood reaches the industrial city of Kassel at 8 o'clock on May 17. German emergency services are overwhelmed. The torrent sweeps away factories, power stations, roads, and rail lines. The Ruhr steel mills, the foundries that produce 75% of Germany's tank armor, shut down due to lack of water and electricity. Coal mines flood. Hydroelectric plants go offline. Over 1,600 people drown, many of them forced laborers and prisoners of war housed in camps along the river. Albert Speer, Hitler's Minister of Armaments, flies over the destruction in a reconnaissance plane. He later writes in his memoirs that the sight of the breached Möhne Dam made him physically ill. He tells Hitler that production losses will set the war effort back by months. Repairs will require 7,000 workers diverted from other critical projects. But the true impact goes beyond the immediate damage. What the Germans don't know, what they won't understand until after the war, is that Operation Chastise forces a strategic shift in Nazi air defense policy. The Luftwaffe, already stretched thin, must now divert flak batteries and night fighters to defend infrastructure targets across Germany. Dams, bridges, canals, power stations. Everything is suddenly vulnerable. The myth of the impregnable target is shattered. And the raid does something else. It proves that precision bombing at night is possible. Before Chastise, most RAF bombing missions relied on saturation, dropping thousands of bombs over wide areas, hoping some hit the target. Gibson's crews hit 3 specific structures with specially designed weapons in a single night. The precedent is set. Within months, Bomber Command begins developing tactics for precision strikes on oil refineries, V-weapon sites, and submarine pens. The Germans rush to repair the dams, draining reservoirs and pouring thousands of tons of concrete. They station permanent flak regiments at every dam in the Reich. They install more torpedo nets, searchlight batteries, smoke generators. They are terrified the British will come back. The British do not come back. They don't need to. The psychological damage is done. Churchill addresses Parliament on May 18. He doesn't reveal the details. Operation Chastise is still classified, but he says this: the efforts of the RAF have dealt the enemy a blow which will resonate far beyond the immediate destruction. He is right. In Berlin, Nazi leadership is stunned. The Ruhr was supposed to be untouchable. The dams were engineering marvels, protected by geography and firepower. If the British can breach them, what else can they destroy? The answer, as it turns out, is almost anything. Guy Gibson does not survive the war. On September 19, 1944, he is flying a Mosquito on a low-level marking mission over the Netherlands. His aircraft is hit by flak and crashes near Steenbergen. He is 26 years old. His body is recovered and buried by the Germans. After the war, he is reinterred in the Steenbergen cemetery, where his grave is still maintained by local Dutch volunteers. Of the 133 men who flew on Operation Chastise, 53 never came home. They are buried in Germany, Holland, and England. Their average age is 22. Flight Lieutenant Les Knight, the Australian pilot who helped breach the Eder Dam, is shot down over the Netherlands 2 months after the raid. His Lancaster crashes in flames. Knight survives the impact, but dies of his injuries before help arrives. He is 22 years old. Barnes Wallis, the engineer who designed the bouncing bomb, lives to see the war end. He is knighted in 1968. He spends the rest of his life designing aircraft and advocating for peaceful uses of technology. He dies in 1979, age 92. Until his death, he corresponds with the widows and families of the Dambusters, expressing guilt that his invention cost so many lives. The Möhne Dam is fully repaired by September 1943. The Eder Dam takes until October. Both dams stand today, still supplying water to the Ruhr region. Tourists visit them every year. Plaques commemorate the raid. The German government, in a quiet act of reconciliation, installed a memorial in 1993 honoring both the Allied airmen who died and the civilians killed in the flood. 617 Squadron still exists. It is now based at RAF Marham and flies Lockheed Martin F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters. The squadron crest features a dam with a breach in the center and 3 bolts of lightning. The motto, chosen by Gibson himself, is Après moi le déluge, after me the flood. Every May 16, the RAF holds a memorial service at Woodhall Spa, near the original RAF Scampton base. Veterans, fewer each year, gather to honor the 53 men who didn't return. The names are read aloud. A Lancaster bomber, one of only 2 still flying, performs a low-level flypast over the reservoir where the crews trained. The last surviving Dambuster, squadron leader George Johnny Johnson, died on December 7, 2022 at the age of 101. He was the bomb aimer aboard Lancaster ED 925/G, flown by Flight Lieutenant Joe McCarthy in the attack on the Sorp Dam. In his final interviews, Johnson said he never forgot the sound of the flak hitting the fuselage, or the sight of the Möhne Dam collapsing, or the faces of the men who didn't come home. Operation Chastise did not win the war. The dams were repaired. The factories restarted. The Third Reich fought on for 2 more years. But the raid proved something that mattered more than one night's destruction. That ingenuity, precision, and courage could strike at the heart of an enemy that believed itself untouchable. It showed that no target, no matter how well defended, was beyond reach. And it reminded the world that the most powerful weapon in any war is not the bomb or the aircraft or the dam itself. It's the audacity to believe the impossible is merely difficult. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. We'd love to hear their stories. Thank you for ensuring that Guy Gibson and the 133 men of 617 Squadron do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.